Сайн байна уу хүн үзэгчдээ. Өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Английн BBC нэвтрүүлгийн Азийг хариуцсан захирал ноён Iain Haddow оролцож байна.
Iain Haddow BBC News-ийн Азийн бүсийг хариуцсан ерөнхий редактор. Тэрээр 1989-с 1993 онуудад Английн Ноттингемийн сургуульд Франц болон Испани судлалаар бакалаврын зэрэг, 1995 онд Уэльсийн сургууль сэтгүүл зүйн чиглэлээр бакалаврын дараа зэргийг хамгаалжээ. 2016 оноос BBC News-ийн редактораар ажиллаж, одоогоор BBC News-ийн Азийн бүсийг хариуцсан ерөнхий редактораар ажиллаж байна.
Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Welcome to Mongolia.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
So, what's the mission to Mongolia?
Well, I've come to participate in a forum to talk about public service broadcasting and the future of public service broadcasting under the auspices of the 50th anniversary of Mongolian National Broadcaster.
Indeed, you said, I was at the conference when you were speaking, impressive about how does BBC fulfill its mission even at difficult times. Please, being one of the best, one of the oldest radio and TV network in the world and the largest one now, and being also public and not every day is shiny in that sense. Please tell us about your function. What is the main role of BBC?
I think the main role of the BBC, whether it's in the UK or globally, is to serve the audience. So you have to always set out with that in mind when you are producing content, reviewing content, thinking about your staff and their performance, their delivery, their safety in some respects. And I think the thing always at the forefront of our minds is making good content, good, original, robust journalism. And I think if you make that content, audiences will come to us. We're trusted. We've been working in this field for, as you say, nearly 100 years.
Tell us about, in general, the parameters of BBC. How many people work in how many countries and how many languages?
Okay, so at the moment we are present in over 100 countries. And with a presence, I mean to say that we have reporters or a bureau. And there are, I think, almost 30,000 staff across the BBC as a whole. And I'm talking here about entertainment and drama and children's programming, music. In news, it's several thousand. And we are currently in the middle of a large expansion program. And we are expanding to 40 language service departments. At the moment we have 28.
Okay, and you are responsible for Asia. What's going on in the news, right, in Asia? Just news department or the total BBC?
So I'm just responsible with with a team of people for the management of the language service content. So content that is not in English.
Oh, I see. So you are in Chinese as well?
Chinese, Burmese, Hindi, Urdu, Punjabi, Gujarati. I
was surprised when you go with relatively smaller languages. How come? Recently you opened one in Africa with a very small language.
Pidgin.
Pidgin, yes. And when you will open in Mongolia?
Well, we'll come to that. But I think the question about the language services is a very important one. So we're there to provide reach and impact with our journalism. So those are the major considerations when we think about strategically about which language services to open, is where there's an opportunity in a market to grow our audience and where we can make an impact with our content. Those are the main factors. So with Pidgin, taking that as an example, there is a large audience speaking Pidgin in various countries in West Africa who are not able to access or not served by news services in their language. So we are there to provide it.
In Mongolia, Here, more than 3 million people, but in the south, another 5 or 6 million people. In the north, maybe less than 1 million people. So altogether, we talk about 10 million Mongolians speaking the Mongolian language, and I think I would be happy if you consider that, hopefully one day. But still, every morning I hear in my car BBC. How does all the system work? Who is transmitting? How does it work here?
So we have various distribution platforms for our content. Some is available on via website and on social media, and that includes video and some audio. But we're also broadcasting on radio, on various shortwave, medium wave FM, on partner stations or direct to audiences. And with TV, often we have a partnership with a local television that will carry our content. Those are for the smaller language services.
Who is your partner here?
So I don't think we have partners that I'm aware of in Mongolia at the moment. But we have over 1,500 partners around the world that we do business with. And we also broadcast and publish our content direct to our audiences via our destination websites and also on TV. In the case of Arabic and Persian, which are 24-hour news channels in their own right. And so we beam our signal up to the satellite and then down to the relevant region. And in fact, those programs and that content is available globally.
I visited around England and I saw BBC Education, the children all around the UK keep hearing at the same time about the same content so that they are coherent to their schedules of teaching. How does it work?
So BBC is a big supporter of education. That's one of our founding principles, missions. So inform, educate, entertain. Those are the principles and the founding missions from almost 100 years ago, and those are the ones that still serve us today. That's part of our public purpose. And I think when you talk about education, you're talking about the future of a nation. Yep. And education is very, very important and attracting younger audiences. So we have content that's specifically designed for younger audiences, whether that's children's programming, entertainment, drama, mini soap operas. We have also we have educational programming, we have news aimed at young people, and we are trying to get young people exposed to our content from a young age. So we have 2 specific TV channels for children.
Yes, I saw it, yeah, for even small, by ages, and it consistently goes at the time when the children is awake. And
they are, that's right. But so they're not on 24 hours because I think A, we can't really afford to, but B, we don't really want to. Yeah. I think children to be exposed to at midnight, say, to that kind of programming when they should be in bed. But the programs are available offline also via our app, so they're accessible anywhere. And downloadable also.
And you say always BBC is on air, online, anywhere, everywhere you can have access, right?
That's the idea.
Should be difficult with the whole modernization all the time.
Well, that's what we were talking about at the forum yesterday. So people, their consumption behaviours are changing very quickly. Maybe you have children yourself, and I don't know if your children watch TV.
Yes, correct. All on the phone.
So the other day I was on the train going to work, and I was in a carriage with 4 kids. They were 12 years old maybe. Each of them was wearing their school uniform on their way to school. They knew each other, they were schoolmates. They each had a mobile phone. Each of them was playing a different game. And they were each able to conduct a conversation looking down at their phones, maintaining a coherent conversation while playing a different game, a separate game each. I mean, I was astonished that in such a short period of time, we've got to the stage where young people can access all kinds of information, and some of it...
yet communicating.
Yes, they're finding new ways to communicate. So we have to reach out to them. They're not always going to come to us, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have. It's about the shift in that behaviour where people sat and consumed content together as a social group, and now they do that as an individual. And I think that requires a whole new mindset in the minds of ourselves as content creators. How do you reach that person? It's no good anymore just to broadcast and say this is what's happened and expect that that's going to interest people.
Not only broadcasting, you said, not only informing, you are educating and kind of also enlightening, right? That the future is to be better, right? And it's a lot, very expensive, all these things to do, and with so many thousands of people. So BBC is financed from every household, fee, from budget, and advertisement.
No, there is no advertising on BBC within the UK. So it's free of commercials.
Okay. How each household pays? How much they pay a month?
So the monthly fee is around. So annually, it's £155.
Whoa!
Yeah.
This is about 15 pounds a month.
No, yes, I guess.
About yes, yeah, about less, but it's a lot of money also, per household.
Yes.
If it is registered as a household, registered with the numbers, streets, locations, you are entitled to pay for your radio.
That's correct.
So
those who are over 75, they don't pay.
They don't pay. Okay. I see. So altogether, a majority of your source of money is that fee or budget.
So that is the principal source of funding and income for the BBC, and it's set at a rate, set in a mechanism that's agreed with government over a period of several years in advance, and at the moment it will increase in line with inflation. So generally, they're very small increases over time, and we have a charter that exists for 10 years that establishes our existence.
By 10 years, you establish the rate, kind of.
It's generally reviewed every 5 years.
Okay. Is it a majority of your source of information within England?
Income, I think you mean.
Yes.
Yes, so, it is within.
How about budget? UK. How big budget from the state budget?
So there's nothing from the state budget.
Oh, I see.
So we take that money. It's license fee to make our programming. So in addition to that, we do and can commercialise our content overseas. So we can franchise programs like Top Gear, yes, or natural history programs.
Or Hard Talk.
Hard Talk, yes. And with the BBC World News Channel overseas, that is a commercial operation. And then we have additionally some money that has been allocated to us from government specifically to help with the expansion of World Service for the next 3 years until 2020. Yes, but that's it's a block of money. I would say, so it's £290 million, which is a lot of money, and we're spending it very wisely. But it's a very small proportion of the overall BBC budget. BBC budget is, I think, the income is probably close to £5 billion annually. So it's a lot of money. But I think, like I said yesterday in the forum, very important to say that we are accountable to those license fee payers, and we have to be transparent in the way that we spend the money. We have to spend as much of it as we can on programming and content, because we're there to serve the audience, and they wouldn't.
That's why you do service with quality service. Very interesting programs, your programs. And do you have competitors in the country?
In the UK?
Yes.
Yes. So there's one other public service broadcaster.
Another one?
Yes, called Channel 4.
Okay.
So that is run with on a public service basis, but the income for that is commercial, so they take advertising.
I see.
And then there are many other commercial channels.
Yeah, but still your name is standing out, and not only in the country but in the world. And speaking about the worldwide advertisement, you would go, the large commercial corporations would buy your time, or how does it work?
Yes, they would. I mean, many different organizations buy advertising for us. But you know, advertising is facing challenges of its own, because money is draining away, yes, from television channel sponsorship and commercial advertising, and it's going very much into online.
So then how do you see the future of television in that context? Not only BBC, but in general.
It's a good question, and nobody really has the answer. If I had a crystal ball, I would be a millionaire, because you know, I would know all of the answers. And I think
still people watch TV. It's a part of our life.
They do, but they, you know, they consume TV on a small screen.
Yes.
So how then, if you're an advertiser, how are you going to get your message across in a short space of time on a very small screen, with, as I've described, the kind of behaviours and social interaction which is going on around you as an individual in society? Yeah. So if you're that boy on the train, the advertising, it has to be really smart to grab your attention. Yeah. And as BBC making content, as one of many players in the market, we also have to be smart in the way that we make our content.
Exactly. On very sad cases, in the case of Mongolia, when every government, when it is changed, they change the head of our public TV. And that means they still want, legally it's public TV. And also they receive money from each household, as much as the Mongolian economy can pay, or a Mongolian household can pay. But still this person is much under the influence of political nominators, whoever is nominating that person. How about the case of BBC? Are your leadership changed? How you can protect?
So I think, as we said yesterday at the forum, you know, the public service broadcasting ethos is there to serve the public and to serve the audience.
Not government.
Free of political or business or other interests. And I think in the case of the BBC, we have come under pressure many times. I mentioned the case of a government minister recently who, on air, on the BBC, said that we should be more patriotic in our coverage of the Brexit negotiations. But we've had a lot of other pressure in the past.
Compared to our one, it's very soft pressure. But
so I'll tell you another one then. So under the government of Margaret Thatcher, there was a law passed preventing the broadcasting of voices carried by the IRA. So the IRA is pretty much disbanded now, but it was an organisation, a terror organisation that existed to unite the island of Ireland through violent means. So the government was, at the time, was very keen to make sure that the voices of those representatives from that organisation and the political arm of that organisation were not carried on air. So we weren't interested in talking necessarily to the IRA, but to their political representatives, because they have a party that's affiliated with them. This party now has the majority in terms of seats in Northern Ireland, and has gained some seats in the Republic. It's given up its weapons. The IRA has given up its weapons, and Sinn Féin is carrying out its objectives through political means and peaceful means. But at the time, it was very violent. It was a very different situation. We're talking about the 1980s, so a long time ago, and the UK government under Margaret Thatcher at the time passed a law, and the law said any Sinn Féin member cannot speak on air. So BBC was in a difficult position. But what we did was we still interviewed those people, but we got an actor to read their voice on air.
Oh, I see.
Technically, we weren't broadcasting their voice, but we were still taking their words.
You found a way to avoid.
And bring those words to the public on a matter of great significance at the time. It was a huge, huge debate in the country about that organisation, about the political aims of it, about the affiliation with this party and what it was trying to achieve. And so there was a huge interest in that. And I think the BBC is there to represent all shades of opinion. And the point is that you have to hear from all sides. There has to be a rational debate. And maybe at the end of the day you agree to disagree.
Yes.
And it might be a heated discussion.
That's the role of media.
But that is the role of the media.
So that the country is living in more harmony with debate, with different opinions, right?
Yes.
That's what we try to do here. Not easy. You are, Iain, you are a journalist. Tell us about the most cases where you were happy as a journalist.
I'm very happy right now. I'm happy to be in Mongolia. I'm happy to be working in the Asia region. And I'll tell you why. The Asia region it's always the first to do anything. In the time zones around the world, Asia comes first. It's always awake before everybody else. Half the world's population, more than half, is up. It's had its breakfast, gone to work,
yes,
and then come home before people in Europe are even awake. And for me, it's such a huge, so very exciting concept just to think of that.
You are very interesting.
I just find it a very forward-thinking and an exciting place where people are on the move and doing things and young and embracing technology. So for me, it's a very exciting time to be working in the field of journalism, and I think we have to really try and find new ways to keep making our original, robust, high-quality journalism and see how we attract new audiences and make an impact with them going forward.
That's the case where BBC, any journalist, was in two dangerous situations.
There are many times where our journalists have been in danger. In fact, I would say every day there's probably a case where we have to consider the risks and the safety of our staff, wherever they are around the world, because we have a big operation to manage. That is one of the things that keeps me awake at night. And the duty of care that the BBC has towards its staff is very, very important, and it's one of my biggest responsibilities. Me and I think other managers. And we know that staff put themselves in danger, in harm's way all the time. When there's a big natural catastrophe or disaster or some man-made incident, everybody's running away, but the journalists are running towards the danger.
Yes, he has to.
To cover that story, yeah? And so that brings with it immense dangers. And I don't underestimate the physical dangers, but also the psychological dangers and the psychological risks that they run and the pressure that it takes, the toll that it can take on their family, who are remote sometimes. So it's a huge amount of pressure. We have developed good programs within the BBC to help with well-being. So we have an employee assistance program if people need to get something off their chest, if they have a problem with something. It's a 24-hour free counselling service. It's available in any language, anywhere around the world. And any member of staff can ask for that. I, as a manager, would never know. I would never be aware because it's run by an outside company. And we also have trauma training. So it's the trauma awareness training that helps staff that are exposed to really high pressure, severe dangers. And long term, how they deal with that themselves is very important to us, because we want the best from staff, and we owe it to them. When they put themselves in danger, then we need to make sure that they're happy in their own minds. So we also have mental health awareness and people, trained members of staff who can see if somebody can recognise the symptoms of mental health, and I myself, I'm a first aider, so we have many mechanisms within that. And I think just one last thing I'd like to say is that we have a department specifically set up for safety and risk, and that's to do with any kind of programming, whether it's going up a ladder to paint something on a set for TV in London, or going on a deployment in Somalia.
Okay. And it was a great privilege. Thank you very much for coming to this program, sharing with Mongolian audience how does public TV works. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
За хүн үзэгчдээ өнөөдөр манай дефактоны төвлөгийн зочноор BBC-гийн Азийн захирал ноён Haddow оролцлоо. Их баярлалаа.